what is a method, what's its usage, and how we can send in parameters into a function. Hello everyone, this is Ali Reza. Welcome to the Mentor Code Lab. Today we are talking about methods. Now methods are one of the most powerful concepts in programming in general. And don't worry, it has few steps that we will cover all in this video. To be honest, I'm very happy to record this video because it's the very last video inside our theory playlist. And finally, after this video, we will start talking about real programming in different languages in different days. Voila! So, the methods. When you are writing your own class, as we said, you may want to have some functionality side by side, different data storage for each object. For example, you may have a class called user, okay? Now this class will have two different data. One is the username and one is the password. Obviously, you won't store password as a simple text inside your database. You will somehow put encryption on it, scramble it, and most of the time, don't worry if you don't understand it right now, but there is an encryption method called SHA. It has different subclasses, SHA-1, SHA-128, SHA-512, different names. But let's say that you use SHA-512, okay? Now, SHA is one-way encryption, meaning that you scramble your data, store it in database, and you can't convert that scramble back to see the result. Okay, why did I put this example? Because we want to talk about methods. So when you hit the login button on a website, how can the website understand if the password is correct or not? This is how. You will have a class called user, and in the user class you will have a function. The name of the function will be check password, okay? So check password. This check password will accept something here. We will talk about it in a few minutes, but let's say it's there and it's a type of a string, and this is the value you type in the password field. Now, inside this function, we will do our logic. The logic is this. One, go to take a look into the database, find this username. If we don't have a username like that, then fail. Two, if we have a username, take its password from the database. Remember, it's a jumbled, mumbo-jumbo, scrambled password. Okay, store it in somewhere. Three, use the same algorithm and encrypt this thing that we sent in. Four, compare the two encrypted scrambled value to each other. If they are equivalent, then yes, the password is correct. If it's not, then fail. Now this is called a method. Check password is a method here. It's a piece of code that accepts some variables that give out a result, and inside itself it is doing some modular functionality. That is a method for you. Now, some people say that, hey, methods are just some functions. I tend to avoid this name, function, because in web development, for example, PHP has a very dedicated meaning for functions, and they are not methods. So I try to avoid this name, and I suggest that you avoid it and don't call methods functions, because they are not. Methods are methods. Okay. How do we define a method? Any method has three different base parts in its structure. Of course, the very first one is the name of the method. The second one is the return type of the method. And the third one is the parameters of the method. We call it params in programming language. So let's talk about these three. Now, names are just strings. Some names that we give the method. For example, check password. For example, damage. For example, check health. For example, kill for a game character. Okay? So it's the name we gave the method. Keep in mind, it's better to have longer names but readable and understandable names. For example, you may give the name, I don't know, A, or let's make it something like this, KTC, and it stands for kill the character, okay? Or KTP for kill the player. Okay, you want to make it KTP, that's okay, but remember this, 6 months later, 1 year later, whatever time gap you will have, you will come back to your code and suddenly you see this KTP, don't worry about this second part, int A, and you're scratching your head thinking, oh crap, what was that KTP again? I totally forgot. Now you have to sit back and read the content of this method line by line, reread your own logic so that you understand what was it doing. Compared to this name, take a look at this one, kill the player int timer cool down. Even without looking into the content of this method, you would immediately understand that, hey, this method will kill the player character and it will use a cooldown timer to reinstantiate the player inside the game without even reading the code. So the naming of your method, of your parameters, of everything, of your variables, of your objects is really critical in programming. If you use good names, readable names in your programming, the more you go forward in that program, it looks more like you are talking to the computer in English language. It's more like that compared to, this is a program. No, it looks like someone is talking to the computer because you are using a talking language for defining the object names, and the more objects there are, the more usage you have. It is more like a conversation with the computer in C#, in Java, even in Python, okay? So choose the names carefully. Now return. Return is the type of the result you want to send back. For example, kill the player will have no return type. We are not returning anything. We are just doing some functions and that's it. Now, when you have no return type, in programming, we have a special name for it. It's called void. C# and Java both use the void name. However, if you are doing some comparison logic and you want to return the result of that comparison, for example, the check password, either the password is the correct one or the wrong one, so you want to send back true or false, here you will use a Boolean type for the return type. Or you can have a complex object, anything. So each method will have a name. It will return something, even if it's nothing, we have to identify that. And then a method, here is the thing, can have as many params as you need, or it can have no parameter. Okay, let's put a method together. First of all, you need to write the accessibility of this method. If this method is public, means anything outside of this class can read it. Okay, I want a public method. I will call it check password. So far, so good. Now, check password, I know that it will return true or false, so I will return a Boolean, and I'm writing the syntax for C#. So bool. Now, this method will accept a parameter as a string, and I will call it value. And then we define the method with open and close curly braces, and we write our logic in between. Remember, when the return type is not void, we have to use the keyword return somewhere inside the code and then put the returning value here and end the method. So we are saying that, hey, return this value for us, okay? So we have to have this return keyword. That's critical. If it's void, then we may not want to have this return. Sometimes in some critical places, we want to early exit out of the method. So yes, we will have return, but then that return is empty and it doesn't have the second parameter. We will see these examples in programming for sure. However, here I want to just show you the base structure of every method in C#, in Java, and many other programming languages like C++, MQL if you are writing for MetaTrader in finance or anything else. Python is a little bit of exception. So what do we have in a method? Accessibility, return type, name and the parameters. Now parameters always sit between parentheses, and the method starts with curly brace and ends with a curly brace. That's the basic structure of a method. Understanding how a method works means that you have a very powerful concept for programming. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about in theory, and I'm not gonna make a dedicated video for it, is property. Property is just a sugar-coated syntax for two methods. Let's say that you have a private int health and it is sitting inside a class, okay? However, you want everything outside of this class to be able to read the value of the health, but you don't want them to write the value on the health directly. You want them to call a method and give a damage value, and you handle that damage value in this class itself. So basically, you have an integer that has readability but not writability. Okay, private means that it wouldn't have the readability. Making it public will give the writability. This is making it a little bit hard, isn't it? Here is where we have a word, encapsulation. Now, encapsulation means that this class should be responsible of handling everything it needs for health by itself. Others shouldn't think about manipulating health. It's the job of this class to manipulate it. So I'm not gonna open the ability to manipulating the health to the outside. I will encapsulate health in a way that others can only read it and not write it. How can we do that? Here's the thing. We will make a method so it will be public, so others will be able to access it. Health is type integer, so we return an integer and we call it get health, okay? And this get health has no parameters, so the parentheses are empty. Inside the method body, we just return a value. We return the value of the private health object. Okay, we made it possible for others outside to read the value. However, we are still missing something. How can we make it so that others change the health? Well, again, we need a public method. It will not return anything, so it is void, and we call it damage. Here, we send in an int, call it amount, okay? And here is the logic. The first things we want to do is saying health equals to health minus the amount, okay? So we reduce the amount from our health, but that's not enough. Here we should check if health is now smaller than 0, or if it's negative. Then we want to kill the player because, well, there's no more health. And this is why we don't want others to be able to change and tweak the health. We want a centralized logic inside the player class that will handle everything related to the player. Part of it is manipulating the health. But by opening this method to the outside, we are making it possible so that other classes send in some value inside a method call, and that method call will tweak the internal value, double check the result, and if it needs, it will do other functions, methods, calls, whatever, events. It can do anything related to the same player class. Now, this is called encapsulation. However, in some languages like C#, if you have a private field, a private variable, and normally we put underline on it. I don't use it sometimes, but this is a good practice. So underline health. It means that, hey, it's a private integer, for example, underline health. As I said, in some languages like C#, we can sugarcoat something. Here we will have a public and it returns an int and it's called health, and suddenly you see something like this. Open curly brace, get private or even public, I don't know, private, in this case, set. And this is curly brace, by the way. So this is sugarcoating something. It means that that, hey, I want to get access to this guy, okay? And you wouldn't have this part in top. By default, you are having a method called getHealth, a method called setHealth. The getHealth is public, the setHealth here is private, but you are not defining it in multiple lines. Instead, you are sugarcoating it in one line of code, and this is called property. And that is why I didn't separate a video for it. Basically, property is two methods, one for getting a value, one is for setting the value, and these two together are encapsulating a value to the outside of this class, and that is called property. Now in C#, we can sugarcoat it like this. In Java, we don't have it. In Java, this is the way to write it. We will have a get, we will have a set, and both are two methods sitting inside our class. And again, we will call this get and set pair a property. So keep that in mind. A property is nothing more than encapsulating a value into two get and set methods in pair. Okay? And by that, we finished the base concepts for programming. If you like these videos, please subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, and turn on that bell so that when I publish a new video, you will get informed. Have fun, everyone. Bye.